Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Councillors, and City staff. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. My name is Ed, he, him. I'm a straight cisgender man, meaning my gender is the one most commonly associated with the type of body I was born in. I'm also the father of an incredible tween who identifies as queer. As someone who's not a member of the 2SLGBTQIA+ community myself, speaking about the importance of pride, it's possible that I'll get some things wrong. To those of you with lived experience, I welcome your corrections, now or later, publicly or not. I'm here tonight because at the May 23rd council meeting, the councillor representing my ward said one of the most offensive things I've ever heard. Quote, "You've got the LGBTQ, you've got them against the heterosexuals." No, Councillor Robinson, we don't have that at all. There is nothing about 2SLGBTQIA+ people advocating to make space for themselves in a world where as recently as my own lifetime, there was very little space that is against heterosexual or cisgender people. There's nothing about 2SLGBTQIA+ people making sure kids today have the supports they themselves needed and in many cases didn't have that is against heterosexual or cisgender people. There's no part of the Progress Pride flag flying outside that is about negativity towards or exclusion of straight cisgender people. There's an internet meme that says equal rights for you doesn't mean fewer rights, or equal rights for others doesn't mean fewer rights for you. It's not pie. That very much applies here. I'm 45 years old. I was born into a world where I could be myself, where my gender expression, who I'm wired to love, was legal in every country, where I was free to marry and never had to fear losing my job if someone found out who I was dating, where I never had to worry about whether friends and family would accept me, and where I never had to fear violence for holding a partner's hand or wearing what I want to wear outside of certain safe spaces. 2SLGBTQIA+ people my age were not born into that world of safety and privilege. After years of activism, great personal risk, and determined community building by 2SLGBTQIA+ people, many of those situations I described are better today in at least some parts of the world. And what have I lost? Which of those rights I was born with have been taken from me? None, because again, it's not pie. I was in my 20s, in the early 2000s, before I knew an openly gay person. The world of my teenage years just didn't have space for young people to be out at school. If I had found myself interested in guys instead of girls as a young man, I know I would have hidden it from people, and I'd have spent a lot of time feeling like something might be wrong with me. I know this because with this odd voice I have, people often said I was gay, and I responded the worst way, by enthusiastically joining the homophobic side of every classroom debate to show everyone how straight I was. It didn't even occur to me there were real people hearing what I said and being harmed by it, because all I'd learned in sex ed about 2SLGBTQIA+ people was, quote, "Being gay is extremely rare, and you wouldn't know until you're older." I realized years later that there were certainly people there living silently through a part of life that's emotionally challenging for everyone who would have been hurt by things I said. And that was a big motivation for me with my own kids. I didn't want to unleash people like teenage me into the world. My wife and I taught them early on, during that age where Disney teaches kids about princes and princesses in love, that some men fall in love with men, some women fall in love with women. They learn not long after that some people might look like one gender, but know they are another, or neither, or a combination. So listen to people who tell you who they are and call them what they ask you to call them. It didn't even occur to me until later that teaching them these things, letting them know that we felt this way, taking them to a few age-appropriate pride events, would be even more important if they found themselves attracted to people they hadn't expected, or found themselves questioning whether their assigned gender matched their true identity. My daughter let us know early in the school year that she'd noticed she was interested in girls, and less or not at all interested in boys. I was immediately grateful to all the 2SLGBTQIA+ people who've worked to build a world where she has some room to be confident and open about that. A world where I've been able to learn over decades how not to be that loudmouth homophobic kid I used to be. What kind of dad would I have been for this wonderful kid if I was still that guy? I'd have loved her and supported her, I know that, but she wouldn't have known that. She wouldn't have known that home is a place she can be herself. School should be a place she can be herself. Compared to my school days, it's certainly closer. Her friends instantly adapted their celebrity crush games to only ask her about female celebrities. Most kids are accepting, or at least don't cause her any problems. Two boys, though, immediately started making homophobic comments. following her menacingly around the schoolyard, spreading rumors on text groups and Snapchat. She came home enraged one day because one of them had been laughing about the mass shooting in a 2SLGBTQIA+ nightclub in Colorado Springs. Another day, a student brought a knife in their lunch to cut up leftover steak. The same boy who had laughed about the shooting said, "If I had a knife, I'd stab someone whose name starts with," and gave the first letter of my daughter's name. When another student with the same initial commented, he said, "I don't mean you," then turned to glare at my kid. I don't know how much of her reaction to this was fear, how much was sadness and rage that anyone could turn this kind of hate her way, how much of it was exhaustion from months of advocating for herself against bullying, but it had a terrible impact on her mental health. She missed a lot of school and a lot of dance, her absolute favorite thing. She had thoughts about self-harm, came to see us every night for weeks, long past bedtime due to anxiety attacks keeping her awake. She had moments she wished she had never told anyone and just pretended to fit in, like all the kids had to in my day. I know people are hearing this and victim blaming, thinking, why didn't she keep quiet? It's no one's business who anyone's attracted to. Why did she have to tell people? You know why? Because straight people get to tell people about it every day. I said my wife earlier, and no one thought I was making a big deal or saying something I should keep private, like some would if I said my husband. Tween girls have talked about boys, which ones they think are super dreamy, who's the cutest member of their favorite boy band since Beatlemania. It's what tweens do, and it doesn't suddenly become nobody's business and something to hide if someone happens to like girls instead. So yes, she should be able to tell people, and as long as there are people who see that as a problem, there's no true equality. My city councilor tried to bring forth a motion last month to stop the raising of pride flags at City Hall in the name of neutrality. Neutrality between what? Between a symbol that the city is committed to being a safe and welcoming space for 2SLGBTQIA+ people and the people who don't want it to be safe and welcoming? There can be no neutrality on that. We can't choose a middle ground between people who are still working and fighting for the right to just be who they are and the people who are against them for who they are. My counselor keeps talking about beliefs. Being 2SLGBTQIA+ is not a belief. You can knock on my door, give me a pamphlet, and have a slim chance of talking me into a different religion or political affiliation. You can't knock on my door, hand me a pamphlet, and talk me into being a different gender or asexual or gay. The same counselor wants to designate pride events and parades, not individually based on their specific content, but all of them as 19+ adult content. I've been to Durham Pride 3 times, once staffing a booth, once as a spectator, once in the parade itself. I've seen zero nudity, nothing sexual or deserving of an adult designation, not in the parade, not on the festival stage. Most people marching around me were in shorts and t-shirts. So what makes it 19+? Why would we deprive young people of the opportunity to learn about a community that they may one day realize, or already realize, they're a part of, or some of their friends and classmates are part of? Being a kid who's different is hard. Knowing there's a whole world of people like you and people who will love and accept you for who you are is really important. At Durham Pride this year, my daughter picked up some new pins. One was a rainbow Pokeball, one was a Progress Pride flag. She attached them to the pouch where she carries her EpiPens, and this kid who has been bullied, harassed, threatened with violence, who a few months ago was thinking maybe she should have pretended to be a different person just to stay safe, turned to me and said, I can't wait till those kids see these on Monday. Pride events can provide a massive confidence boost to kids dealing with the challenges of being different at an already challenging time in their lives, and provide a wonderful learning opportunity for kids in general to learn about the diverse society we live in and become more understanding of 2SLGBTQIA+ people, of whom they will encounter many in their lives. I want to thank all the members of council who chose not to second these regressive motions and who voted in favor of Councillor Cook's motion to affirm Pickering's endorsement of Pride events and flag raisings. Thank you.